Okay, Larry Short with MushroomObsession.com. It's been a half hour since my last video. Just to catch you up, in case you're jumping in here fresh, I am making cream of chanterelle soup. It's golden chanterelle season here in the Northwest, and cream of chanterelle soup is a wonderful way to eat chanterelle mushrooms. In this order, I like cooking chanterelles, I like hunting chanterelles, and most of all I like eating chanterelles. They're wonderful. So when I left you, we had a cast iron skillet full of dehydrated, rehydrated chanterelles simmering in a mixture of onions, olive oil, flour, salt, pepper. We added chicken broth, and what we're going to do now is we're going to add half and half. Since I left you, I've also done a couple things. I've been busy here. I started a second batch. I told you I was going to test the soup mixture between rehydrated chanterelles and thawed frozen chanterelles. So we've been testing ways to preserve chanterelles. It's chanterelle season. There's lots of fresh chanterelles, and that's the best way to eat them. But right now, for purposes of our test, we're testing head-to-head dehydrated, rehydrated chanterelles in cream of chanterelle soup against frozen in a block of ice chanterelles that are thawed and added, and the soup base is created that way. So what I did was I took my Chanterelle Shazam mixture, which I created earlier, which already had spices in it and oil, as well as shallots and garlic, and I put that in a hot pan, added a little bit more oil, added the flour, the same thing that I did this time, and then added my chicken stock. So about 3½ cups of chicken stock on each. I've added into each a little bit of the mixture of water that came off the rehydrated chanterelles, just to make sure I have a nice chanterelle flavor in it. I don't think, now this rehydrated mixture has been cooking for a half hour right here, and it's cooked down a ½ inch maybe, so we've lost some liquid, although I'm sure it's concentrating the chicken stock flavor there. The mushrooms don't look significantly more softened than they do before. The other mixture, which was thawed, the mushrooms are a lot softer, so I haven't been cooking it as long, so there's more liquid in that one. So that one's going over here. I'm going to add and simmer for about 5 minutes, half and half to each mixture, and that will give it that creamy flavor and consistency. Approximately half to each. I'm not being real scientific here, obviously, but sometimes that's the best way to cook. We'll want it to simmer for about 5 minutes with the half and half mixture fully mixed in. And then, I'd forgotten to prepare this before we started the last video. In order to truly make this creamy, there's a secret that I discovered from a chef who cooks chanterelle soup, and this is the way he does it, and it's really good. You basically puree this mixture. You really don't want to have those big chunks of chanterelles in there. You just want to have the chanterelle flavor. So you basically puree this mixture in a blender. So I've got my blender out and I'm ready to do that. And as you do, you add pads of butter, which kind of emulsifies and thickens it. And obviously butter makes everything taste better. So we're going to do that. We're going to give our two mixtures about 5 minutes of boil here. And then we're going to emulsify each one of them one at a time in the blender and try them and see if we can discern any difference in taste between the rehydrated variety or the thawed variety of chanterelles. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, fresh chanterelles would be better, but we're testing today methods of storing. And this is what I'd like to do during the year. Tomorrow, we're going out on another foray, a hunt in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. We'll take the camera with us and we'll show you kind of how to hunt, what we're looking for. There ought to be a lot of chanterelles out there. This is the time of year they should be coming on. We've had good rains last week. The sun is shining now. It will be shining tomorrow. And the mushrooms should be out in full force in the Gifford-Pinchot. We'll be hunting at about the 2,300 foot level. And so we should have lots of chanterelles to bring back. We'll have fresh chanterelles. We'll probably try this recipe again with fresh chanterelles. But right now, other than the chanterelles that I've saved either through dehydrating or freezing and thawing, I'm out. So this is what we're dealing with. So we'll do another, if this turns out well, we'll do another video maybe with fresh chanterelles and show how to make that once again tomorrow. So my chanterelles now, my mixtures are bubbling both of them. Well, I've got a little higher heat, I think, on the rehydrated version, so that's bubbling. I've got about 3 minutes to go on it, 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're ready to take it off the heat and put it into the blender and see what happens. So I'm going to prepare for that by cutting up a few pads of butter to get ready to throw in. And also I'm going to get a few containers out so that I can store the excess soup in those containers when I'm ready. Because I'm not going to eat all this soup in one sitting. There we go, that'll do for one of them. And we'll use this for the other one. So we're ready to go with that. I'm going to slice a few pads of butter, and then we should be about ready to go with, here's our blender we're going to use to create the actual emulsified soup. I'll show you how to do that, that's kind of fun. And we will slice, oh, one other thing I want to tell you, I've got, the other thing I did while you were gone, I prepared a second garnish. So we have 2 different garnishes here for our 2 batches. The one that I prepared for you before is with the rehydrated chanterelles, which have been cooked to kill any germs, but I've added chives, there's some onion in there, and then I also added, I'd forgotten about this, but I also really like parsley, and I had some Italian parsley, so I chopped it up and added it to the mixture. I've also added to our chanterelle Shazam mixture, which already has chanterelles, or thawed chanterelles, and it has shallots in it and garlic. I added the rest of the chives mixture. I reserved about half of that, and I also added the rest of the parsley mixture. So I got 2 separate garnishes available for our soup right here. I'm going to test those on the different soups. So, okay, let's see. Are we at time yet? Yeah, we're about there. They're both bubbling nicely. I'm going to start, since this one's been going the longest, with my rehydrated mixture and see how that does. I'm also going to taste it here. Just make sure, oh, actually it tastes really good. Just make sure it's got enough salt and whatnot in it, which it does. We're going to take that off the heat, and we're going to get a ladle. And we're going to spoon a couple of spoonfuls of that ladle into our blender. Be very careful not to burn ourselves as we do that. Okay, we're going to make sure when we get up front, we're going to want to get a lot of the actual chanterelles, which still look fairly intact. So I'll make sure they're in there so we can emulsify them real nicely. About 1/3 at a time is the way to do this with this kind of mixture. So put that back on the burner for now. And I'm going to add a couple of pads of butter. So I haven't sliced my butter yet, but I'm going to slice. I've got a whole cube of butter here. I'm going to slice it into regular pad sizes. We'll add them one at a time as we emulsify it. I'll reserve half of it for the other mixture and half of it for the first one. Alright, so one pad goes in, and here we go. See a lot of pieces of chanterelle coming off. Ooh, it looks good. Alright, we're going to add a little bit more. Maybe another 1/3. More mushrooms. Get the bulk of the mushrooms in there this time if I can. And another pat of butter. Actually, I have more butter than, can do better than that probably. I'll add 2 pads. How's that? That'll leave us with 1. trying to gauge by looking at it how big the pieces of mushroom are in there. They look pretty good. Now I'm going to add the rest of my mushroom mixture. The remaining third, which doesn't contain as many mushrooms as before. Make sure I get the good pieces out of there. And the remaining pat of butter. And blend it once again. Should be about ready. We're going to need to pour it in a bowl and add our garnish. We'll give it a try. Smells wonderful. All right. I mentioned I'm going to add a little bit of sour cream and some of the garnish mixture on top. Here's the sour cream. Here's the garnish mixture. Looks like I've got about 3 bowls worth in there, so I'm going to add about a third of my garnish mixture on it. And here goes. That's amazing. I bet you wish you could taste this right now. It's really good. Spices are perfect. Flavor. Chanterelle's good. Okay. That is the mushroom components. Even the garnish tastes pretty good to me. So I don't think rehydrating. I don't think that's an issue. I'm gonna pour my soup in here. The remainder of that. If I can't tell the difference, to be honest with you, I'm going to end up mixing these together, so we'll find out in a moment. Oh, that's good. Okay. Next is the mixture that has the thawed and rehydrated, or sorry, frozen and thawed mushrooms in it. Much softer, more liquid because this one didn't cook quite as long. Put about a third of it in there, same as before. Add a pat of butter. Maybe 2 actually. And so obviously each batch here of soup has a half of a container of half and half, plus a half of a stick of butter in it. It's not low fat, but it's tasty. Butter makes everything taste better, right? So if you're concerned about low fat, concerned about low salt, do what I do. I use salt-free butter, low salt chicken stock, and then I add it to taste, you know, whatever you're happy with taste-wise. But if you're not concerned about sodium, concerned about fat, that'd be a different story. You probably wouldn't want to use all the butter. And olive oil is not bad, but butter does obviously add to the calorie count here. We do another pat of butter, the second, third. Actually, another 2 pads of butter because I'm doing well in the butter here. I may not use this whole stick of butter. From the looks of it. Oh! Ow! A little explosion there. Came up and out of the top and burned me a little bit. And I got it on camera. Kitchen accident. Not sure why they did that. I was holding it down. Good idea to hold your lid down when you do this because sometimes it kicks up. Again, and this time I was prepared for it. I think I might have that a little full. It's running down the sides. I'm going to go ahead and do my taste test at this point. Pour it into another bowl. If anything, it's a little heavy on the mushroom side, so that's not bad. Ah, geez. Alright. Nice and creamy, it looks like. Garnish. We'll add our second garnish. Actually, a little bit of sour cream. Sorry, I love sour cream. Could probably do this without sour cream, but that's me. And a little bit of garnish on there. About a third of my garnish. And time for the taste test. I'll use my same spoon as before. I'm not worried about my germs. Oh, that was really good. See how this one is. Hotter. I didn't include quite the amount of salt I did in the first one. I like salt, so salt makes it taste better to me. The mushroom flavor is not as distinct in this one for some reason. This is the thawed version. Interesting. I can barely tell the difference, but I do actually, I think I like the first one a little better. And possibly it's because I have a little more salt in it. I think the winner, actually it's probably got a little too much salt. I think now the thing to do is to combine them. I mentioned that if I could barely tell the difference I would combine them, so I'm going to add the rest of my mixture here in, emulsify that. And before I do that, since I'm going to combine them, I'm going to go ahead and lower the volume in that, since I ended up with a lot more mixture in this one than I did the other one. So that way I won't risk blowing the top off like I did before. Alright, figure out a good way to do this. I make a big mess when I'm cooking in the kitchen. My wife always says, man, how do you create so many dirty dishes and so much mess all over? Look, I got it on the cupboard here. I said, hey, that's part of the creative process. You got to make a mess in order to make good food and discover good things. So we'll see. These sheep probably thinks I'm just a messy person, but all right, 2 more pads of butter, and we'll call it good for this one. 1, 2, and we'll save the rest of that butter for another time. Let's see if this explodes this time. I guess the issue really was just how full I had this container. So, all right. I'm going to add this back in here, and then I'm going to do a third test. I'm going to taste my combined mixture just to see that's any different. Got plenty of garnish I can add of both varieties. Ooh, I think it's about perfect. So that's right in the middle, salt-wise. So, excellent. All right, so doing a lot of experimenting on camera here, but what I've done is I've made chanterelle soup out of both rehydrated chanterelles, shallots, onions, garlic, chicken stock, salt and pepper, as well as thawed chanterelles. So not fresh chanterelles in either of these. I'm willing to bet fresh chanterelles would be better. You'd probably have more of that chanterelle fragrance and flavor, but these are really good. So, you know, I could happily live with this during the rest of the year when chanterelles aren't in season. I'll dehydrate them, I think, and if we have a lot of chanterelles, I'll dehydrate a lot of chanterelles, and I'll save those in bags. They'll last forever, and then I'll rehydrate them, and I'll make this soup out of them when I'm done. It will be good. So, happy shrooming. Wish us luck tomorrow. Hopefully we'll find a lot of chanterelles. I'm sure they're out there, and I will chat with you later. Really good.